Hello, kindergarten class. So today we're going to be doing a little lesson on counting and cardinality. So your main goal in here is that you're going to be identifying whether the number of objects in one group is greater than, less than, or equal to the number of in another group. But before we start this lesson, I need to show you some vocabulary that I need you to learn and to understand, because I need you to see some of the symbols that we're going to be using in order to do this lesson. So we have a symbol that is called the greater than symbol. So you see that we have a little mouth opening. An example for this is that mouth opening is going to be always facing the biggest number rather than the smaller number. So if we look over here, we have 4 is greater than 3. Now we have another symbol that I need you to learn. So in the less than symbol, the pointing part is going to be always facing the smaller number rather than bigger number. So an example that we have over here is that 2 is less than 6. Now we have the equal to symbol as well too. So there are those two little lines in there, and an example of this is 7 is equal 7 because they're basically the same thing. So now I want to show you a little part of a song that I found that it might help you with to remember the symbols. Here it is. So if you look at those pictures in there, they were able to tell us about how we can use the symbol for the greater, less than, and equal to. Now, I want to show you some practice into this. So what I want you to do now is to think into two pictures of two apples. So let me show you this. So over here, we see that we have pictures of two apples, and we have our symbols that is equal, less than, and greater than. So now let's see how we can do this. So on a step 1, I want you to count the objects on each of the boxes. Then on a step 2, I want you to write the number that goes to the objects that we have on each of the boxes on each group. So you guys know this and you guys don't get confused. And then on a step 3, are the numbers the same? If so, you will be using the equal sign. But in this case, it's not the same because we know that 2 and 3, they're not the same. So let's go to a step 4. So is the one of the numbers bigger than the other one? So then we're going to use the sign that goes with that. So now we know that the pointy thing is always going to be facing the smaller number, and the opening is always going to the biggest number. So we know that 2 is less than 3. So now let's look at another example. So now we have these pictures over here. So now we know that at step 1, we're going to count the objects in the boxes. On a step 2, we're going to write the number that we have on each of the boxes. So we know, 6 stars and 6 stars. And then we know that they are the same. So obviously it will be the equal sign. Now let's look at another example super quick. So now let's do this with our friends. So we have both of these pictures in here. So step 1, we're going to count the number of objects in each of the groups. So we have 12 stars in one of the boxes and 6 stars in the other boxes. And then if they're the same, well, obviously they're not the same. So let's see what symbol we're going to be using for this. The greater than, because we know that 12 is greater than 6. Now, let's put this on practice. So I have a little 10 frames in front of you so you guys can use. So we have a 10 frame over here and a little box over here and another 10 frame on the bottom and a little box over here and then some little lines over here where you guys are going to be able to write the numbers that I want you to use. So now in this activity, we're going to be using some strawberries and some blueberries. Oops, I dropped them. Blueberries in here. And after you finish this activity, you will be able to eat them. So let's say we have 2 strawberries in our first 10 frame. So we're going to get both of our strawberries and we're going to put them in there. And then let's write the number 2 because we know that we have only 2 strawberries in there. So let's write it, R2. Now I want you to put 4 blueberries in your 10 frame. So we're putting 1, 2, 3, and 4 blueberries. Now let's write the number in our little box underneath that 10 frame. And then in the little lines that we have in there, let's write in the first line the number 2 because that will be the strawberries. And on the other line that we have in there, we're going to write the number 4 because that will be our blueberries. So now, what symbol are we going to be using in here if we have 2, 4? So let me show you how it should look right now. So it should look something like this. So what will be our little symbol that we're going to be using? The greater than, less than, or equal than. If you said less than, you were correct because 2 is less than 4. So if you wrote this symbol less than, you were correct. So now you get to enjoy your little fruits in there. Thank you. But if you have any question, please let me know and I will help you with this. Thank you so much.